Today we are going to have a topic by the name of a Vice Chancellor's hustle, his role playing as a hospital healthcare administrator in the wake of COVID-19. So the esteemed speaker for this program is Dr. Chandra. Everybody knows him, but those who have joined from outside AHA, I will give a formal introduction of our speaker today. Dr. Chandra is a qualified hospital administrator, MHA, and MPhil in hospital administration, MBA also. He is a life member of Academy of Hospital Administration, and he has been the professor and head of hospital administration and medical superintendent at SGPGI Lucknow, the coveted institute, the top institute of that region, and he has helped in directing that institute, both the structure as well as administration wise in the right direction. Later on, he was shouldered with greater responsibility, and he moved on as the vice chancellor of Hemvati Nandan Bahuguna University, Uttarakhand, where he has got bigger role not only in the healthcare but also in other educational streams. Dr. Chandra, as I know him as a person in academy, is a very active, dynamic person, and his inputs to our day-to-day working as well as on the strategic management of the academy has helped us a lot. He has been the vice president of Academy of Hospital Administration the last term as well. Okay, now coming to this topic, which Dr. Hemchand, I will be very brief on this. When we got his topic first, so I really became very keen and interested to know what he is going to talk. So because he has used his word a vice chancellor hustle. So when I normally have a very negative connotation about this word hustle, then I started looking for some meaning. So then I came across some positive meanings of hustle, which is they say forcibly encourage someone to buy something into or to proceed or work rapidly and energetically. I think Dr. Chandra, you are going to touch upon that quality of yours, which I know you have in plenty with you. So we will not be stopping short in between, and we will give you the ample time to interact with the audience here. But for the audience, I will say there's a rule to this webinar. Please keep your audios on mute mode during the program. And if you want to ask any question, please put that question in the chat box. If somebody wants to put a comment, he wants to speak in person and give a comment, he can write his name and say, I want to give a comment. I will call him or her at the appropriate time for a comment. So the total time taken to be taken by the speaker is around 40 minutes. Which will be followed by some question and answers and some comment section, followed by the Thanksgiving by Professor Anil Gomes, who is going to summarize everything and do a Thanksgiving. Over to you, Dr. Chandra.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish Gupta. Very good evening to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to inform you that I am not alone today. Basically, I have with my colleague, she is Dr. Nidhi Unial. So Nidhi Unial is a associate professor in the Department of the Medicine in Government Doon Medical College, which is a constituent college of the HNB Medical University. Because some part we have incorporated in the end of this my talk achievement, which we started with the help of the IVERMECTIN in the state of the Uttarakhand. So that is why it's a basically co-effort. Thank you, Dr. Ashish Gupta, and the all honorable president of the Academy of Hospital Administration and other board of executives, and on all the my seniors here and my class fellows also, and my students are also going to join here. And I'm thankful to all of you for giving me this opportunity. Basically, comparatively nowadays we are a little bit relaxed in comparison to the few past days, basically. So I thought this is a time I can deliver something which, as an hospital health administrator, I could deliver to the state of Uttarakhand. As you know, basically my role, the role of the vice chancellor is basically teaching, training and research. And of course, sometime because he was a clinical or to monitor or the go for the quality improvement in the patient care. But in view of my basically seniority, being the senior most in the medical fraternity in the state of Uttarakhand, and my background that is the hospital administration. And of course, third, my performance in the past in the Sanjay Gandhi PGI, which is a basically tertiary care hospital, as you know, basically. So the government has given me the very important role, which I am going to reflect before you. And you people will be the judge as to how could I perform my performance being as a hospital administrator. Because my teachers are here, my students are here, basically. From my teachers or the student, basically, what I have learned in my past, I try to deliver in the state of Uttarakhand. So as of now, the situation everybody knows, and the complete country is under control of the COVID-19, and we are a little bit enjoying. But nonetheless, basically, we don't have to forget that what had happened in the past, and accordingly we have to prepare ourselves for the third or suspected third wave, or in the future what is it. So now I'm going to start my deliberation, and I will request to kindly project the slides here. So the 2/3 part I will be covering, and 1/3 part a little bit will be covered by my co-author and the co-presenter, that is Dr. Nidhi Unyal. First slide, please. So the slide has been made multi-purpose. So the background of the COVID-19, we all of us know. In fact, the bell started alarming in the mid-February 2020 in India when the news about the COVID-19 was dispersed, like the jungle fire. Since the drug had no or the limited role in the treatment of the COVID-19, the strategy is basically focused on testing, tracing, and the treatment. Therefore, the state of Uttarakhand was not untouched from the tingling. Therefore, exercise the preparedness against the COVID-19. So, Honorable Chief Minister, it's a small state, ladies and gentlemen. I will just give you the geography also after this slide. That Honorable Chief Minister at that time took over the overall in charge. I mean, because the subject at that time was so sensitive, as we can realize. No need to go to the deep, basically. So he took the command of the high-level task force to overcome the situation. The following officers, main basically Chief Secretary, Secretary Health Medical Education, another secretary in charge, Secretary and the Vice Chancellor, myself, we became the basically main focus constituent of that high-level task force committee to look after the COVID-related all the functions and then the management part. And myself, I got an opportunity as an hospital health administrator. Regardless of my position, I could not sit silently. So this was an opportunity for me and challenge for me as to how I can come forward and show my effectiveness and the efficiency. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of Uttarakhand having 13 districts only, very small part basically, and some portion is the hilly area, and most of the portion is the next hilly area. And this is the, if you see, the total square meter is 53,483. It's only 1.63 part of the India. Hilly terrain is the 86, plain 14, forest area 65%. Now you can imagine this is why, because I am going to project this aspect, because hilly area with the dense forest is that is in regards to the accessibility of the management of the COVID patient and delivering the services at those rural areas which constitute the 70. Is not that much, 1.3 or 3.2 like that. This is the success ratio, 963 upon 1,000. Employment is basically industries. Though these industries are basically located in the plain areas like your Haridwar, the Udham Singh Nagar, and the nearby areas. Agriculture a little bit, because I have already told it's a hilly terrain. Service 36%. Now, the journey of the COVID, we all know, but a little bit in 2-3 slides, I would like to reflect this. The first case was detected on 16th of the March, And that was basically the individual, that is a trainee from the Forest Research Institute, who came from the abroad, went there as a part of the training, and reported here with some illness. He was brought to the hospital, finally found the COVID positive. So that was the first case. And these are the sequence of the Janta curfew and the lockdown and lockdown 7. And thereafter, the first death which has occurred in the state of Uttarakhand, it was on the 1st of the May, when the total cases we have observed or detected 58 at that time. Next slide. And now, if you successively, we will go, there are two phases, basically waves, in the first wave and the second wave. And on 16th of the September, we observed the highest number of the cases in the state of Uttarakhand, that is 1,540 only. And next page. So this is the total as of date. I'm projecting before you on 31st of the August. The total testing we have already done, approximately 68 lakhs positive cases, approximately 3.4 lakhs, negative 65 lakhs approximately treated, 32 lakhs, and total death or as on date, that particular date, 7,387, and which remain the total percentage of the mortality is 2.15 of the positive cases. First wave, an outcome of that, just an overview. Highest number of the positive cases, basically, as I have already told, 1,540. That is on 16th of the September. Maximum number of death in one day is 24 on 1st of the October. And total positive cases in the first wave are basically 1,411, and total death in 1717 in the first days. This is why I am going to reflect you. We have also followed the state of the national basically pattern, because 1/3 of the cases or the death which have occurred in the first wave and 2/3 death which have occurred within the 3 months in the second wave time, basically. In the second wave, 1st April, that started from the 1st April until date. In fact, it is continuing. We are highest number of the positive cases, 9642 on 7th of the May, and maximum number of death in one day, 197. This situation was really very alarming for us in the state of Uttarakhand. That is why I am focusing or giving the insistence to these all data before you. In regards to the pediatric, because we have to now going to look forward for the suspected third wave, and that is which the scientists or the epidemiologists, they say that they are going to, it is going to affect the children part of the pediatric population. The total positive in the first wave, 7,740, total deaths 17. In the second wave, the total positive 18,690 and death 21, and total till date cumulative pediatric group, the positive 26,430, and death had occurred only 38. Now, these are the data, need not to basically say anything. Reflection of the now, as of now, the variation in the total number of the cases, and that 00 in red reflection is the number of deaths, basically. So as of now, for the last 1 month, we have observed approximately 0.000 or sometime 1 death per day, and we think that we all are in comfortable position and still observing the COVID appropriate behavior, and the testing per day on an average 26,000, between the 26,000 to the 30,000 per day, and we are getting, I mean, the mostly the 0.000 counting of the death. Next. Now the role of VC, which I played, basically the government has given me the responsibility. That is, of course, as we teach to our student, and we have also taught to others also in the part, and also observed while we are in the hospital administration part. Absolutely, that is the 5M or the 6M of the function of the management. So first role was the decision-taking process in meeting of the high-level task committee. That is the participation and giving the advice or the giving my basically best input, while the Honorable Chief Minister or the chief secretary or the other dignitaries, they are taking the any meeting basically. Then my advisory role, we will take one by one: planning, coordination and monitoring, evaluation, research and the training. Other part like the testing, training, treatment and the COVID appropriate procurement, these all are the execution part. Of course, that is the responsibility of the Director General Medical Health, and taking based on the decision taken at the level of the advisory role or the government, then to percolate it down to the state by the state government to the DG Health, and implementation takes place at that particular place. Next. Decision making process from the first week to the April, I will tell you. So it was a very, good experience, and the motivation, the sense of the motivation to all of us, that our Honorable Chief Minister used to sit us every week and used to get the feedback from the district magistrate, because district magistrate made the overall task force in charge of that particular district, and along with this chief medical officer and other team. So we used to get the feedback, and these 6 or 7 officers which I have already narrated in the beginning used to sit together and used to get the feedback from the DM and the CMOs, and accordingly instruction used to be passed to the percolated down and was to be done in the future. Every week feedback from the DM, that accordingly instructions are carried out and the process continues even till now. But now the situation is quite better, so Honorable Chief Minister only meets once in a month basically. Otherwise we meet the Secretary Medical Health and myself or the DG basically, usually every week we meet together, and along with the DM and other functionaries downward, we get the feedback and percolate down. Next. Now, the advisory role. In fact, the government made 4 or 5 very important committees, in which in 2 I was made the chairperson. The first one is a very important, that is the committee of the technical input and the decision support for the informed policy making for the COVID-19 in the state of Uttarakhand. This is the very great responsibility which the state government has given to me as a chairperson, and the principal of the Doon Medical College, Professor Sayana, is the coordinator, and we have 12 members taking from the government hospitals and the private hospitals, representative of the IMA and the public health expert also. We supposed to sit and advise to the state government time to time depending upon the situation which is around us. I will give you some of the conducted more than 30 programs so far, and they advise, major advice basically, that comes to only once or the 2 in the month. Chairperson of the State Task Force Committee for the COVID-19 Management Protocol for the children in the state of Uttarakhand. For the last 4 or 5 months, when we heard that the 3rd wave will be coming and most of the time these children will be affected, so government took immediate action, and with the advice from the first committee which I just told basically, and constituted the another committee in which the most of the members are the pediatrician from the state government and the public health expert and the epidemiologist also and the expert also. Third, the member of the high power task committee for the chief under the chief secretary, which is going to look after the complete management of the COVID-19 of the state of Uttarakhand, and the death committee. We have also performed to get the feedback from them. And I was another the very, very important responsibility which was initially given to me is basically when there was a shortage of the bed with the government hospitals. It was expected that in future this situation may arise, and that really we faced also. We started talking with the private hospital and especially the IMA. So that responsibility was given me to coordinate these activity and bring together everybody in case any time the state government requires the beds and their input, not only the bed, even they are the qualified, they can be brought to the district hospital or the other places where the government is going to make. So that basically coordinated activity, and you know, it was very difficult basically because the private hospital IMA there has their own constraints basically, and the government have their own way of working. So ultimately we succeeded for that. Next. Now the first, which I told, basically there are many aspects that, since the time does not allow us to go for the detail, the committee chaired by VC advises government time to time RT-PCR testing, treatment protocol, pathogenicity, virulence, discharge, basic supporting treatment, facilities, drug administration, so many things. Though these time and again we all have been receiving some guideline from the government of India, but how to make them or bring down up to the level of the grassroots level, basically the committee used to make the policy, the procedure at this level and advise to the government, and thereafter government used to float the government GOs, which we call the GOs. Second, the remarkable, the advice recommendation to the state government implementation of the mass drug administration with the medicine IVERMECTIN, which approximately 90 lakh selected population of the state Uttarakhand, which saved 453 lives from the COVID-19 deaths. So my co-speaker, Dr. Nidhi Unial, will speak in detail after that. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a very big advice and the important advice from this first committee, that we recommended you go for the, when the COVID positivity and death was the very high level, that is 197, and I told more than the 90,000 per day detection of the positive cases. That was the time we were really worried what to do. And there was a hue and cry. Somebody told that ivermectin should be discontinued or give or not. But we had already a group of the scientists and the doctors, those who have already treated more than 15,000 patients here. We sat together, ultimately took the decision and gave the advice to the state government to distribute the ivermectin, tablet, to the approximate, because there are ivermectin, approximately 90 lakhs population, and 99% population was distributed, which was helpful to us to safeguard the 453 life from the death of the COVID, and brought before 15 days the positivity down in comparison to our neighbor state, that is the Himachal state, where we can compare the activities basically. Next. 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 Now the planning. In fact, the manpower planning, how to go, who will do, organize small pockets of the subgroups or the committee, ultimately with the help of the DG and the CMOs of the district, because they are the final authority to deliver the services at the grassroots level, and describe the methodology, and that was involved. That's in CCC, DCSC, DCH and utilization. Home isolation, which came into the existence later on. It was a very challenge for us basically, how to go, how to deliver, how to monitor, how to, that was oxygen concentrated in district hospital. My past experience at SGPJ helped me basically a lot to bring the oxygen concentrator and to install them, and talking to the companies and other things basically. Bedhead panels along with their testing capacity enhancement. Initially we had only, I will just reflect after some slide, that we had only one RT-PCR facility in the state of Uttarakhand. Later on we developed more than 12 and others. Establishment, that BSL or the seven approximately. Now the coordination monitoring, Indian Medical Association is the strongest one of the private nursing home and the hospitals in any state basically, and other private hospitals, those who are not involved or are the member of the IMA, RT-PCR lab at AIMS, Indian Institute of Petroleum, PGI Chandigarh, RVII Mukteswar, Government Medical College Chandigarh, MTech Chandigarh. These basically we started talking to these all places, ultimately got succeeded to get the help from, and we used to send the samples from this place to these or many places where the test can be performed, because we had at that time only one, as I informed you in the beginning. Then the bed availability reflection in the portal. Ultimately, when they came to us, basically they agreed upon to help the government in regards when the beds are available. So we made a system that the beds should be available in the portal itself. Private hospital charges. Now the question of the charges arise because a poor person or every person cannot afford the charges which at presently I will tell you for any other type of the ailment treatment, the way they charge basically. The government charges are very less or the free, and they are charging depending because they have much recurring expenses also. That is why. So ultimately we made a policy for the state that these are the basically basic charges irrespective of the expenditure to be held. So they agreed upon distribution of the treatment kits to the home isolation, guideline for rational use of the remdesivir, tocilizumab, and the amphotericin B. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there was a big black market basically. So we developed that. So any remdesivir or tocilizumab or the amphotericin B coming within the state is under only the government. And I made a procedure ultimately and given to the DG that this will be the channel and demand will come like this, and then it will be distributed like that. So we ultimately basically succeeded. And ivermectin, which Dr. Unyal will be talking just now. So daily statistics, new cases, cumulative cases, person daily, cumulative death, recovery, sample count. So these all are basically we said together. Ultimately, we made the pro forma, which is collected at the control room under the control of the National Health Mission. That is the MD is there already. At ICU patient, home isolation, these are basically used to get and go for the research and the analysis and the feedback also. Next. So research part, death, audit or the mortality, comorbid status, age profile, delay in diagnosis, delay in treatment, delay in referral transportation, therapeutic availability. 2G observation study, in fact, we passed from our, so the committee, when the 2DG was introduced, it was quite late because at that time the total number of cases remained very less. So ultimately we got the permission for the observation study that we told the government directly we are not going to start this treatment. Let us go for the observation study. We have the 4 medical college government, 1 AIMS and 2 private medical under the university also. So 6 or 7 colleges they agreed, but unfortunately that form could not deliver to 2DG. We received only 20 or 25 days when the count was only that is a 30 or the 40 per day. So it was not sufficient to conduct a observation study. So we are just hold it as of now, but the few drugs are available with us. Mass drug administration. Now training state-wise, so I divided these training in the many part basically. I can talk to CMO, I can talk through VC, I can talk to the specialist or I can talk to the nursing part, but the grassroots level, that is the ANM or the Anganwadi or third party is basically your Anganwadi and the ANM and the multi-purpose workers. I cannot go directly. So that was through the CMO I organized that part basically. In the main focus was basically therapeutic part, ICU, oxygen therapy because there was shortage of the oxygen, ventilatory support basically. I will give you a reflection that what was with us on as of 1st April 2020 and what is as of now with us. And venue we made basically the medical colleges of the government and the private already, where we found that the specialists are there basically. So it will be better if some of them remain the online and some of them remain the offline also. The total training program conducted so far 362 events, and I would like to tell you that those participant delegates, those attended online and the offline, in total they come to the 17,862. And this is the figure of 10 days before basically, and still this program is going on. And the research, next. See research wala. इससे पहले भी तो training, yeah, ये हो गया अच्छा. Next, yeah. So this is a comparative chart basically. What we had on the 1st April 2020, what is with us as of 1st July 2021. So testing facility at that time basically in the first wave count I have already told basically, and this is the second wave count. And the COVID-19 patient, first wave, we have only 7, which you started on that particular day. Then on the termination of the first wave, we have already narrated to you in the beginning. Positivity rate was very, important. 3.66 was the on that day, 1st April, and 6.13 second phase. And the case fatality 1.70 in the second, 2.15. The death, no death till 1st of the April. But the 1719 was the in the total count. And second wave count, I have already told you, the bed available with oxygen initially 1200, 1200. As of now, we have more than 28,000. Bed available isolation with oxygen 673. As of now, more than 6,572. ICU bed at that time 216. As of now, more than 1,655. And the ventilator available, as I told, you can see all the data during the process of this particular 1.5 year, basically, within a very small state of Uttarakhand, with a collaborative, the effort of everybody. This result is in front of you, basically, what we were at that time and what we are at this time, basically. Especially the Triple C and the DCSC and DCH. These are the new nomenclature, in fact, never been there before the COVID started. But at that time, 000 reflection is there. Lab, if you see, we had one private lab, one government lab. As of now, we have the 11. And there was no private that time. So we tried to the state government, through the state government, to the government of India, and the NABL also, I will tell you. 3 or 4 private labs we immediately activated within a period of the 1.5 months, because it's a very long process. You have to coordinate to Delhi, Government of India, ICMR, and then the NABL, and then to the PGI Chandigarh. From the place we used to get the monitor, and somebody will come and finally say, examine this facility and give to the report to Government of India. Then they will allow that, issue the NABL certificate. Oxygen concentrator, oxygen cylinder. See, the medical officers at that time, we have very less, so we started recruitment also. So as of now, we are better position, and still 500 for the 500 or 600 medical officers, the advertisement is already floated. Ambulance services, we have 360. Today we have more than that. Now, next. So preparation of the, now you see the suspected third wave immediately. The chairperson of the state, I am still holding that charge. The main focus was on mass nutritional supplement to the children, training of healthcare provider for the pediatric management, and the strengthening of the NICU and the PICU. Next. Yeah. So the state committee for the COVID management for children was State Uttarakhand to strengthen the ongoing national program first of all, because what had happened, ladies and gentlemen, that when everybody was after the COVID-19, so naturally within the resources or constraints, we could not look after or do what we should have done for the ongoing national program. Then we got the information from the state government that there is a malnutrition still going down, basically above, and other parameter which should be to meet the national level are not, we are in position to follow them. It means the national programs remain neglected during the period of the COVID-19. That is a very truth, basically, for all the state, I will tell you, because we had the limitation of the manpower, we had the limitation of the infrastructure. So everybody was towards the COVID-19. So that was the first task and recommended, and now being implemented also. In addition to that, we have recommended that in view of the third and the report which we received from the state government regarding the malnutrition and other vitamin deficiency, vitamin A, C, D, zinc, selenium, omega-3 fatty acid, to be introduced as the recommended daily allowance. And I will tell you, the government has already started this program, and more than 60% of the selected children, they have received these all. It is going to be within the state, in the selected population of the children, and in the large scale through the Director General Medical Health Services. These are the reflection of the some of the basically we have so far. I will give you the example, the pediatrician. In the state government, we have approximately 130 or something that account of the pediatrician. We told to the government, since they have been treating the children, but now the COVID and most of the time ICU services are required, we would like to go and identify them and bring them here as a offline, basically initially online, then offline, and then induct them in the ICU services, and 4 or 5 days training programs were conducted. So far we have trained 69 pediatricians already, those who are fully pediatrician. I'm the MD or the DCH. Staff nurse approximately more than 50, and the physicians also. Once we thought that there may be a situation when we will be facing a shortage of the pediatrician, then why should not we go for identify the physician also? They should also be given a chance, and during the this era period basically, and induct them for a week program for the pediatric treatment also, and especially the ICU. That we have also conducted. 60 physicians have also been trained in the pediatric services, especially in the ICU. Anesthesia more than, because they are in charge of the ICU basically. From the state government remote areas, 35. MOIC we have 72. We have gone further down basically. If something more is required, we can induct the medical officers also distributed throughout the state of Uttarakhand. And now we are, these all programs are still going as of now, I will tell you. And the medical technologists, that the pre-hospital care for the ambulances, we are going to train these also. And now we have made a good coordination with the state, that is the Indian Association of the Pediatrics, and they are ready to come to this place basically and the Haldwani for 2 days program, because most of them, they are busy with the day-to-day clinics, and however, some of them, they are also busy in the big hospitals also. But we had a good meeting with them, and finally they are agreed to come over for 2 days full day training program, and which is the advanced training program in the pediatric ICU and others. Next. So strengthening of an ICU. So 1,945 pediatric oxygen bed we have, and 739 NICU and the PICU. This is the overall state basically. Now I am going to reflect before you the total strength of the government and the private also, because now everybody is with us, and approximately there are 335 if we include the private pediatrician, including the government, private and the medical colleges. So these are the reflection of the basically within the 1.5 year which I could deliver basically, of course not alone, with my committee members, with the state of the government help, and government had a full trust with us basically. Whatever we have recommended them, and they honored it beautifully, I will tell you, because the results which we received later on are remarkable. So ladies and gentlemen, to conclude basically, present crisis is under control, but the government is engaged in bringing back the routine life, normalcy, but under strict 19 appropriate behavior. The government of Uttarakhand is committed and they're fully prepared to overcome COVID-19 pandemic if in case third wave, in case it comes. Expert committee regarding the technical input and the decision support for the informed policy making 19 COVID in the state of Uttarakhand, and the state task force for the pediatric care team with many experts are playing exemplary role, leadership in advising the state government to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. So lastly, from my side, thus the Vice Chancellor, whose responsibility is basically to promote teaching, training and the research, was leading the team to overcome this situation only because of the reason of having expertise in the hospital and the health administration. And these are some of the awards basically which they based on the government and the other, they conferred upon me. They are few basically. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having spared your time. Now, the next within 10 minutes, my colleague and the co-author and the co-speaker, Dr. Nidhi Unyal, will be before you to explain how we introduce the ivermectin and what remain the outcome, and that is the evidence-based outcome. We are not just talking. You will see some of the graphs which the many 3 or 4 statisticians remain involved in this particular process. Thank you. Over to Dr. Nidhi. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody, to all the esteemed listeners present over here. My seniors, also respected people. We have been actually throughout the presentation by our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, there was a bit of emphasis on this mass drug administration of ivermectin, and the reason being that we, as Sir has already explained us in the initial part of his presentation, that Uttarakhand is a state with rural dominance, 70% of population being in the rural places. It is a hilly area, and thus what facilities as such for the urban or it's basically amalgamation of certain parts being fully you would say modernized, and certain parts being totally in the rural, with the rural background. So it is because of this that controlling that we had to adopt certain policies which need to have their impact on the rural areas also. And so regarding mass drug administration, I would like to comment that the Uttarakhand and the second COVID-19 wave, as Sir has rightly has explained us earlier also, that Uttarakhand in 2021, it experienced a severe pandemic wave of COVID-19 with a fulminant community transmission in the month of April-May, and had an active case rate of around 29% with a case growth rate of more than 3% in the first week of May. The case fatality rate was second highest with 1.89% after Punjab, as reported on 25th May 2021. And I would like to say that Uttarakhand was equally fast in arresting the wave, attaining the active case rate of below 5% by 6th of June 2021. That was within a span of 27 days after the lockdown and corona curfew when was instated in the state, and the 7-day moving average of case growth rate by 6th of June had reached 0.25%. What were the important measures taken by the Uttarakhand government were corona curfew imposition from the varying strictness as per need from 28th April. Then there was procurement of drugs and essential healthcare equipments, upgradations of our CCC, DCHC and DCH, initiation of telemedicines, consultations, mass awareness drives, vaccination drives with its limitations, free distributions of home isolation kits by both government and non-government organizations, and lastly, we went for mass drug administration of ivermectin drug in the 3rd week of May. Certain facts regarding ivermectin in the Indian states. Ivermectin was included in the treatment protocol of Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh since 2020. It was also included in the treatment protocol of Delhi and Himachal Pradesh since April 28, 2021. Uttarakhand adopted ivermectin mass drug administration programs from 3rd week of May 21, and ivermectin was not included in the treatment protocol of Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. We have, why did I comment on these 5 states? Is that to make a bit of compare. I won't say we can't compare because look, the topography, the lockdown conditions, these vary from state to state. But yes, we had at certain points we do make a comparative study between the states, that what was the achievements, and thus I have taken only these 5 states for the comparison. Coming to mass drug administration of ivermectin in Uttarakhand, in view of the progressively increasing case growth rate of the COVID-19 cases in Uttarakhand, the Scientific Technical Advisory Committee, under the chairmanship of Dr. Chandra Sir, in deliberations and discussions held in meeting on 12th May, recommended for mass drug administrations of ivermectin. The committee was of opinion that ivermectin, if administered in recommended doses, would act both as prophylaxis for household contacts as well as treatment of early symptomatic COVID cases, as contact tracing and follow-up of home isolated patients was not feasible due to fulminant community transmissions. And the objectives were to reduce the transmission of the disease by decreasing the viral load and to reduce the severity of the disease and thereby mortality. The recommended methodology was it was to be distributed in general population to all the individuals above the age of 10 years in the dosages of 200 microgram per kg twice daily for 3 days. It was not to be given in pregnant females, in patients with underlying disease, and in individuals with a history of allergic reaction to ivermectin in the past. Thus, at recommended doses, this was the regime which was followed, that is 12 milligram, 1 tablet twice daily for 3 days to all individuals above or age 15 years, and in the reduced doses to the people below the age of 10 years. This is the timeline which we have used to analyze the effect of ivermectin mass drug administration. We have taken 1st April 2021 as the starting point. Then this 11th May is the date when the lockdown or corona curfew was instated in the state. After this, this is the 6th of June when the active case rate dropped below 5% in the state. This is the ivermectin distribution started from the end of the, almost in the mid of the second week of May, and by the end of 25th June, it has covered almost 98% of the Uttarakhand population. Describing the information, this slide is basically describing the information pertaining to ivermectin distribution in the state of Uttarakhand in the pandemic period. Lockdown status. Partial and full corona curfews was imposed across the various states. I have mentioned few of the 5 states, the corona curfew status of the 5 states, which we have tried to compare in our study. And these are the dates which we have taken as a lockdown or corona curfew status of these states. Why lockdown has been taken, why we have taken these dates is that we have tried to analyze that what was the impact of lockdown in the various states and in the state of Uttarakhand. We all know that once the lockdown is imposed, it takes almost 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days for the effect of the lockdown to come. Thus, the initial 2 weeks, we have taken our study as in initial 2 weeks post-lockdown, then another 3rd and 4th week, what was the impact, and in another, and then beyond 4th week, what was the impact of the lockdown on the corona status. Now, this graph is showing the case growth rate of the 5 states of Uttarakhand, and as we can see, it is evident by the curves that the states of Uttarakhand, the one shown by the green line, the state of Delhi, one shown with the blue line, and the state of Himachal Pradesh, they all observed a very sharp uprising COVID corona cases with an equally sharp declining curve, especially for the state of Uttarakhand and for the state of Himachal Pradesh. The case growth rate decline is more sharper in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh compared to other states. Small arrows on curves line depict the date of corona curfew initiated in the state. In this slide, we have tried to compare the percentage drop in the case growth rate of the various states post-lockdown. So these are the, if we go with this data, we have basically calculated the percentage drop in the case growth rate of the various states post-lockdown, and in the first 2 weeks of lockdown, we can see that both Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand had a pretty almost equal drop down in the case growth rate of the states. Then coming to the 3rd and 4th week post-lockdown, we will see that Uttarakhand had a maximum drop of 81.6% compared to any other 4 states. And then again, which continued till the 5th week of post-lockdown. Yes, in the 5th week of post-lockdown, the case growth rate dropped to 50%. Reason being that we already had a maximum drop of case growth rate by the 3rd and 4th week of corona lockdown. The percentage drop in the case growth rate of 81% in Uttarakhand is observed in this period, and it is the period which is coinciding with the ivermectin distribution coverage, which has almost reached up to 65% in the state. Since we see with the case growth rate that we are having almost a parallel curve with Himachal Pradesh and with, so what we did was we tried to analyze that what advantage did we had with Himachal Pradesh as a state after ivermectin distribution. And we could see that to start with, Himachal Pradesh had a case growth rate of 2.82% on 6th May. That is the first day when the corona curfew was instated in Himachal Pradesh. 6th May was the date for the corona curfew imposition in the state of Himachal Pradesh, while in Uttarakhand it was imposed in the on 11th of May, and by that time Uttarakhand had a case growth rate of 3.35%. But you'll see, ladies and gentlemen, that by 6th of June, it was dropped to 0.25% for Uttarakhand, this case growth rate, and 0.42% for Himachal Pradesh. So Himachal Pradesh still had around 40.5% more case growth rate as compared to our state. Coming to the case fatality rate, we have already made in the state of Uttarakhand was the second highest for, case fatality rate. As far as case fatality rate was concerned, it was around 2.15, and it was second highest for the states of India. Delhi, Himachal, and Uttarakhand all had an increase in case fatality rate with the progression of pandemic. As we can see, the curves of all the states are towards the uprising trend, except for the state of Tamil Nadu, where the cases are going, case fatality rate is decreasing. But as we go, the curve shows that beyond 3 weeks, the case fatality rate has started increasing. As far as 3 states, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and your Delhi is concerned, we'll see that case fatality rate was progressively increasing post-lockdown also. Then, but if we go through this analysis, what we have tried to depict in the table is that we will see, sir, that yes, in the first week of lockdown, we had a positive case fatality rate of almost 21.2%. This is the reason being that we had a very high surge of cases, and our health infrastructure, in spite of being expanded fully, we had crossed our maximum capacity of catering to the patient. And thus we landed up with the cases which could not be traced earlier. Most of the cases were with severe disease, and thus that impact was shown in the first 2 weeks post-lockdown. And we had almost 21.2% gain in our case fatality rate. But as we progressed in the 3rd and 4th week of lockdown, this gain just decreased to 7.4, and beyond 5th week of lockdown, whereas we can say in all other states there was a positive gain in this case fatality rate, we had a case death rate of only 2%. So the increase in the case fatality rate was just of 2%. What we all know that that case fatality rate is reflected, the effect of any measure which is taken for the case fatality rate. It usually takes around 17 to 21 days, as the his natural course of the disease has this gap of 20 to 21 days, 14 days of, if you go through the COVID disease course, we can see that up till 14 days, usually the patients are, if initial hypoxia maintained, if initial severe cases have been handled, then the cases, the death is usually beyond 17 to 21 days, which is due to the complications of the COVID. Coming to the projections of the death, we calculated this projection by applying the average case fatality rate of the state of Uttarakhand to the number of cases, and the state had gained before attaining the active case rate of 5%, had its active case rate declined at the rate of other states taken for the study. We can see that Uttarakhand had corona curfew from 11th of May and reached the active case rate of 5% in 27 days, that is 6 June 2021. Uttarakhand would have taken another 64 days, 142 days, and 9 days more after lockdown to come to this active case rate of below 5% if it would have declined at the active case rate, declining active case rates of Maharashtra, Delhi, and Himachal Pradesh, respectively. What we did is we applied the average of case fatality. We calculated the number of cases we would have gained with our case growth rate, with the case growth rate of our state, to the number of days which we would have taken more in bringing our active case rate below 5%, and then we applied a case fatality rate to that number of cases which we have gained. And we saw that if had we been declining with the Maharashtra case growth rate, we would have another 3,289 deaths. If at the rate with which Delhi was declining, we would have another 7,297 deaths. And even if at the rate of Himachal Pradesh, we would have another 463 deaths. So we can see that ivermectin did had we do predict that, we do hypothesize that ivermectin may have played an important role in bringing this active case rate below 5% in our state. This is where we have tried to, curved our graphs with the positivity rate in the various districts of Uttarakhand, along with the ivermectin coverage. The dotted line shows the ivermectin coverage, distribution coverage in these various districts of Uttarakhand, and these are the various districts positivity rate on the left hand side of the curve, which is being shown with the bold lines. We'll see that by this curve also, we can always, we are able to make out that as we see Almora is having a slow coverage in the ivermectin distribution. So we can make out with this positivity rate curve also that it is corroborating with the distribution coverage of the ivermectin. As far as Pauri Garhwal is concerned, this Pauri Garhwal had a maximum coverage by 31st of May, and here we can see that the drop in the districts of Pauri Garhwal as well as Chamoli, in both with having the highest ivermectin coverage, distribution coverage, we can see that these are having also a sharp fall in their ivermectin, in their positivity rate. So we do have a conclusion that Uttarakhand is the first, in conclusion, I would like to comment that it was the first state to use ivermectin for mass drug administration for controlling the rising COVID-19 case growth rate during pandemic. We did not reported any major or minor side effects from any part of the state, with almost 100% ivermectin distribution coverage in adult population by 3rd week of June, except for few cases of overdoses by the kids due to parents' carelessness, and all cases recovered without any long-term effect. Uttarakhand had a sharp fall in active cases by 3 to 4 weeks post-lockdown, and attained the active case rate of less than 5% in 27 days period post-lockdown. It was also able to control the rising case fatality rate in state, which may be due to decrease in severe cases, as we hypothesize that ivermectin affects the disease progression if given early. A minimum of 453 deaths have been prevented, as we calculated in our projected deaths. And beside this, we had an advantage of secondary benefits of deworming in our state. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you for kind listening, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nidhi and Dr. Hemchandra. Dr. Nidhi, there is a small question to you. You're a clinician. Dr. Sirikar wants to ask you, was there any specific brand of vitamin or some adjuvant medicine to be given to pediatric cases containing selenium or other vitamins or other preparations?
Sir, can I ask?
Yes, sir. So as far as I'm concerned, brand names, we go with the generic names in our districts. So I cannot suggest you any brand name regarding it, regarding the combinations of selenium and vitamin C. And I'm sorry, sir, I'll have to look for that, the brand names.
What?
Okay.
Can I ask, sir?
Okay, Dr. Biswajeevan Sahu. Sir, Dr. Sirikar, yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, I just, good evening, Hemchandra sir and madam. I just wanted to know, because you have already started giving the medicines for mass distribution in Uttarakhand state in anticipation for the 3rd wave to the children, as you mentioned. So I'm sure there you must have selected some brands and which is having, and you are seeing some effect of that, what you are giving. That is what I wanted to do. I know procurement or implementation will be as per the state or as per the individual this thing. The medications brands, because that will be easier for people also for implementation in other states also, and we all will be wise in implementation. We also can recommend, we also can prescribe, we also can tell people. I'm speaking from the state of Maharashtra presently.
Yeah.
Where I'm
That very good question, sir. Basically, the requirement was for the 90 lakhs population, and now you can calculate into the 6 basically. The huge procurement was there, and
Sir, are you asking about ivermectin brands or the vitamin C and vitamin supplementations? Because ivermectin we've already distributed it in the month of
not
May.
ivermectin, madam. I wanted to know for the mass distribution for pediatric group.
Yes,
What you
that is the nutritional supplementation program.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So as far as nutritional supplementation programs are concerned, so I would rather say that we have made recommendations for it, but procurements and these things
We'll
are.
request you if that whatever is being given, if it can be put in hospital administration group, so that we can also advise whosoever asks us.
We will inform to the AHA, sir. AHA will distribute it.
Thank you so much.
No problem. That is with the DG basically. Implementation part is the DG, already DG Health. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I will call in Dr. Biswajeevan Sahu. He is in AIMS Bhubaneswar. Sahu, just give a very brief comment on how you got about. Try to be very brief, less than a minute or two. Come in.
Sir, yes, sir. Good evening, sir, and good evening to all the seniors in this forum. Sir, AIMS Bhubaneswar has been functioning in the similar manner with all the institutes who have faced this COVID-19 pandemic. And initially, being in the hospital administration, I'm a resident here. So our target was to develop a model for preparing for COVID isolation facilities and logistics and supplies and mainly facilitating all the activities going on, like whether it may be a trauma and emergency or maybe a COVID admission, COVID OPD screening, and then one side the vaccination came up since the month of February, March, and the community medicine going on good with the COVID screening and other activities. And we built in a very good facility for isolation and isolation ICUs, and that entire block of 150 beds were prepared as a COVID ward. And then our greatest challenge was, of course, the medicines and consumable and other equipment procurement and all. Everything went on smooth, and although certain ups and downs were there, with guidance of our director and other my HOD Dr. Jawahar sir, and they were actually leading this entire process by having almost daily COVID meetings and daily developments. And as a hospital administrator, our target was to facilitate each and everything whatever the clinicians were demanding, and the COVID group was deciding and making. We had a huge campaign of almost 2 months for COVID appropriate behavior, with video messages, songs, and other activities. And we had done a great job to promote awareness, as well as to support our clinical and non-clinical activities associated with for the COVID management. And of course, it was in similar lines with other institutes all across the India. Everybody faced the similar situations. And sir, thank you, sir, for letting me speak in this forum, sir.
Okay. And Dr. Anubha Agarwal, will you put a line or two about your experience at AIMS Rishikesh? Dr. Anubha? You can come in now. Okay. If not, then I will pass on to our President, Dr. Yashpal, who has just joined, to give a small comment, and then I will go to the other seniors who are there.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish. First of all, I'm really sorry that I could not attend, right, because of the internet issues. All of you know that there are some restrictions imposed by the government, and I am at Srinagar, so I could not attend this seminar. Although I was very much interested to listen to Dr. Chandra, I request him to pass on the PPT to me. I know that it has been a great presentation. And I'm really thankful to him also. I'm really thankful to the audience. I can see very senior colleagues sitting here. I really welcome them also to this webinar, and convey my thanks to them for joining. I'll request the people who have joined first time or who are not members of VHA to please go to our portal and see the eligibility criteria and become life member or the associate member. And then we have the social media presence. We have the pages on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter. So please like the pages, and we are actually sending a lot of information on that. And in fact, this webinar has been recorded, and it will be uploaded for the people who couldn't join this webinar. I am really thankful and not much time, because I have just intruded into the webinar at the end. I just submit my apology for being late and not attending this webinar. And I'm really thankful to Dr. Chandra. Dr. Chandra, thank you very much, and thank you to all of you, for joining this webinar, and especially to Dr. Ashish, our program director, who has always been there and has been conducting the programs in an excellent manner. Thank you, Dr. Ashish.
Thank you, Dr. Jaspal. Major Jagtar Singh, you want to come in and give a comment here at this stage?
Yeah, would you like to invite the other senior members? Whatever.
Okay.
I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Satya Narayan, are you coming in for a comment of yours on this program or some comment on the contents? Sir, please unmute yourself. Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Is it okay now?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yeah. First, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Chandra for his very informative presentation on COVID-19. I think you have used ivermectin not only as a curative measure, but also a preventive one. What is your reaction to a recent action of WHO when they dropped ivermectin from the recommended list of drugs for COVID-19?
Yes, sir. It's a very good question. In fact, many people in the state of Uttarakhand also opposed also. So this news in between when we were preparing this particular program, so meanwhile we received an information that the WHO has dropped, but never banned. There was a word ban basically, and in the same pattern, the government of India never told us to withdraw this particular drug, sir.
That's
So
right.
now this matter was discussed within our committee 3 or 4 times, and also the public health expert and some of the functionaries from the state government, they also criticized that, Dr. Saab, what are you going to do once the WHO has already dropped this particular drug? Then definitely I will tell you, sir, we discussed this matter, and especially with my colleague Dr. Nidhi Unial, she went into the detail into the literature in past basically, and based on our experience of having treated more than 1,200 patients in the state of Uttarakhand. So ultimately we came into the conclusion that there is nothing like any adverse activity. It is going to act upon that particular, we are here basically to break the chain of the positivity. To break the chain of the positivity, and the drug is going to liberate it or excrete it from the body within the period of the 12 days or something like that. So ultimately, despite of having many restrictions from some of the government functionaries, not our medical side, and some of the public health expert also, and after having discussed the matter 4 or 5 times, and with the support of the government, we requested the government, we can start this particular drug. There is no harm, there is no adverse action within the limit of stipulated that dose. And in addition to that, there will be the additional advantage that more than 90% population is suffering with the deworm or the worm infestation or others. So that was the time, sir, we took the decision. Since the WHO never banned it, they advise only we are going to drop it. Do not use it, but no question like that, they banning it. And the government of India, in fact, still continued ivermectin in the first line treatment of the COVID-19. So that supported us, our decision basically, and the government supported us. And later on, I will tell you when I started getting the information and the results, the government honored and congratulated that, Dr. Saab, at least आप लोगों ने जो है हिम्मत तो रखा, नहीं तो लोग इतना people have come forward to basically make afraid of that. He do not go for the ivermectin, but with the support advice of this committee, at least we honored your advice and we started and got this type of the results. We faced a lot of the restrictions and the opposition from the other places. Very good question, sir. आपका कहना बिल्कुल सही था. It was not so easy task to introduce this ivermectin as a mass therapy basically. And it was only for to break the chain of the highest level of the positivity at that time. when we are having a maximum number of the positive cases and the maximum number of the deaths also. That was it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. President sir, should I conclude at this place, at this point?
I would like to convey my regards and to Dr. Satyanarayan. I'm really very happy to see him here today. So my regards to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So you can conclude.
Jagtar, sir, please conclude the program.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you. Sir.
Sir, your voice is not coming, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it remains my pleasurable task now to, propose a vote of thanks. And first of all, my very sincere and grateful thanks on behalf of the AHA go to Dr. Chandra for giving us a ringside view of how the COVID pandemic panned out in his state and what all activities were done to control the situation. It was a wonderful exposition and a great and a very comprehensive analysis of the data, and I would say also the events of as they took place chronologically. My compliments to you, Dr. Hemchandra, for that. Then the role of the VC, which you have so beautifully described, went beyond teaching, training, and research, and how you took on those other roles which you have, described in your presentation as regards decision making, advisory capacity, planning, coordination, evaluation, and of course, research and training related to the COVID-19 pandemic. All were very beautifully explained in all their dimensions. It was a great insight about the roles and responsibilities which can be played by a qualified, energetic, and a dynamic hospital administrator who is also there as the head of the medical services and also has responsibilities as the VC of the state. It was fascinating actually to hear your role. And the other commendable thing to notice in your presentation was the way you described the health care infrastructure, which was built up with great thought to be the most encouraging and I would say great confidence building and morale boosting for the population of Uttarakhand. And the overall overview that you gave of how the state is now preparing or prepared to tackle the third wave as and when it comes. You were ably supported by Dr. Nidhi Unyal, and she gave a very nice presentation on the mass drug administration. I saw a remark by Ashish, Dr. Ashish saying, why don't we have this study for publication in Jaha? Well, the editor-in-chief is sitting right next to her, right? So, and my question, in fact, was to her that have you published or are you thinking of publishing this study? Great effort and great insight. So, having thanked the two main speakers, I would also like to thank the AHA for, taking this initiative of having chosen such a wonderful topic and, continuing in this series of webinars. Also, thanks to behind the scene teams, especially Deepak as far as AHA is concerned. My special thanks also to Dr. Ashish Gupta for always being the energetic and the dynamic program director that he is, always behind, these, presentations and these programs. Thanks also to our President, Dr. Yashpal Sharma, for having joined us in spite of his very, very busy schedule. And in the end, of course, thanks to all the great, participants, our members and non-members who have joined us in this webinar to, enlighten us and enlighten others about the COVID pandemic and their role also in it, and how they have been able to handle it and what they are planning to do in the future. Thank you so much to everyone. And it was great listening to all of you, and especially Dr. Chandra again. Over to you, Ashish. Thank you very much. I have finished.
Thank you, Major Jagtar Singh ji. This program comes to end now. Our sincere thanks to all the participants as well as the speaker for this program. You can disconnect now, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Nidhi Unyal. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will go for the publication, and they are mixing the administrative and the study also. Since the pure medicinal part can be sent to other place, but the administrative aspect basically, which will be enriched in the academic and the basically research and the administrative aspect, that will be published in the AHAS, that as a case study like that. We can. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for giving us the opportunity for today, sir. Have a good day.
All the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar.